Hello, everyone, and welcome to our special live preview for the fourth and final test between India and England. Bharat Sundaresan joining me, as he often does, from Adelaide. Are you excited, Bharat?
Quite excited. It feels like that test match finished like 3 years ago, doesn't it? So much has happened since. Actually, not much has happened, but it just like I've been so lazy in the last 4 or 5 days. It feels like it's been a long, long time. But yeah, bring on the cricket.
Oh, yeah, finally. Maybe some actual cricket to talk about. Now, apologies for a few difficulties that we have had technically due to my laptop seeming to pack it in. So I'm on my iPad at the moment. So that's why it might look a little bit different. But we will go ahead. Now, if you want to send us in some more, I'll just make sure that I've got this chair. No, I'll take that off. I was just going to see if I could see ones coming in, but hopefully the guys will be able to pass on any more talking points that you want to. We've taken a lot off Twitter. So let's have a look. First up, we've got one from Board, kind of an applicable name or something there. Board asks, will the preview be longer than the test match? I think there's every good chance of that when there's Bharat and I involved. Very likely. I suspect this test match is going to last longer than the last one. Could be wrong, but I think it will be. Don't you, Bharat? No pink ball, sort of normal service reviewed as far as the red ball and a turning pitch goes.
I think so, but that doesn't mean that any test match or any event can challenge us, Mel. We can go longer than anyone or anything uh, ever that's ever happened or will happen. Yeah, we are the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be when it comes to just talking nonstop. But yeah, this test match will, I think you're right, the red ball will be back. People will hopefully stop talking so much about the pitch. See, there won't be enough time, right? It's a morning start is good. It'll start at 9:30 India time, so people will just get into the cricket without like worrying about what happened the previous day for 5 or 6 hours, have lunch, and then wait for the cricket to start.
Yeah, okay. Here's our first disagreement of the day. I strongly disagree with you. I think plenty of people are going to talk about the pitch. I don't think it matters how early or late it starts. I think it's wishful thinking to think that that won't be talked about this time, good, bad, or ridiculous. It just is what it is. Now, we've got one from Sudha Shannon asks, will Root have an eye on the baggy green? Will the whole of Australia go Root when he leads England in that fourth test? When was the last time Australia were left rooting? I see what you did there for an England win. I mean, it's interesting when you look at the whole World Test Championship thing, because a lot of us questioned at the time whether it was really going to have any, relevance. Were players going to actually care about it in the context of series, or would it give more context to what could be dead rubbers, all those sorts of things? And it's unfortunate for the World Test Championship that the first attempt at it has been so seriously affected by the pandemic, which has sort of put a spanner in the works of a lot of series. So that's not what they would have planned. And they've the whole thing with the percentages and different length test series as well. I'm not sure if we can fairly judge it yet, because it has been so, I don't know, affected by the pandemic. But look, if nothing else, it certainly has added another talking point, and it seems to have become more on players and teams' minds the closer it gets, especially for Australia. But Tim Payne has definitely said that he has been watching the series very closely. He's been watching it on TV. And I think there's no doubt whether or not the whole of Australia is. I think supporters of the Australian cricket team would definitely be rooting for England, although we wouldn't say that in Australia, because in Australia that's actually quite a rude thing to say, just, as slang. Don't say that.
Oh,
Don't say you're rooting for a team.
okay. I'll keep that in mind. I'll later, when we're off air, I'll find out why that is the case. But yeah, while you were talking about root and baggy green, and I was just thinking about it. Of course, David Warner has come out and said that no, he will not be supporting England, so he's made it very clear. Then I pictured David Warner and Joe Root if they had to get into, somehow the world just turns everything around, and Joe Root is has a green helmet on with the whole, kangaroo with the Cricket Australia logo, and David Warner in a blue helmet. It just, I don't know. They just don't fit.
Oh,
Joe Root is so
yeah.
English looking, and David Warner is so Australian looking. I don't know. Those two in particular, I don't think can ever swap roles for some reason. I don't know. I don't know whether you can picture that.
No,
And
you're
having
right.
said,
It's weird.
it's weird, right? Like Joe Root, I don't know.
Yeah.
Even in a baggy green, like I think his whole head will go inside that skull cap. Anyway, um, but if I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but in a way, India losing this test would kind of sum up this World Test Championship, because it would mean Australia, who are like, as of now, nobody thinks they should be in that World Test Championship final. They've lost to not an Indian team which wasn't at full strength at home, a New Zealand who have played well but like have made their way through to the final. Would just be the apt final, right? Like, India have been the most dominant team during this whole period. But yeah, I think, you know what, India losing Australia New Zealand final at Lords or wherever they're going to play that final kind of sums up this World Test Championship, which, again, like you said, has been affected gravely by the pandemic. But yeah, you never
Oh
know.
my gosh. Yeah. So please direct all your ire at that thought directly to
I'll take
Bharat Sundaresan,
it.
not at me. Now let's have a look at another question. One from R. Shobit asking, should India play Hardik Pandya in place of Bumrah in this match? Can he also play in the World Test Championship final? We are getting a little bit ahead of yourself there. As we said, it's not set in stone that they're going to be there. Do you think India should play Hardik Pandya? Isn't it all a bit too soon for him yet? You don't have to play
Yeah.
as a batter only.
I mean, who does he come in for? I mean, unless they think that Shubman Gill has now got 7 tests, as good as he's looked, he's not got that one big score, especially in this series. So what, Hardik Pandya to open? No, I'm just like, yeah, it's something that is not going to happen, nor am I recommending it. Now, I think the top five just picks itself up, and so does then Rishabh Pant at six. Unless India think that four bowlers would be enough, I don't see how Hardik Pandya plays, but I will let you in on a little secret. Someone in that Indian camp, not now, more than a year ago, had said, we will make the World Test Championship final, and wherever Hardik Pandya is at that point, we will fly him into England and he will play that final. So let's
Ooh.
see if their prediction, and someone pretty senior high up in that Indian camp had predicted this or declared that he's going to play in that World Test Championship final. So maybe it'll happen, but will he play tomorrow? You never know. Like, those selection calls that India have been taken, I wouldn't be surprised by anything. A Gujarat player goes out, a Baroda player comes in, maybe. And he is a big ticket player playing in the biggest stadium in the world. Could happen,
Yeah,
but
well,
maybe not.
when we get off air and I tell you why you don't talk about routing, then you can tell me who that was because I reckon I can guess who said that. Ah, all right. Can I guess your sources? Now, Pratik Agrawal asks, is Rishabh Pant the best stump mic player of all time? That's a
Ooh.
pretty big
Ooh.
call. Is he
Ooh.
the best of all time? I mean, there's a lot of recency bias in that, and we haven't really had high quality stump mics for
Yeah.
that long. When you talk about, I mean, wouldn't you love to go back in time to like the Bodyline series or something
Yeah.
like that, and actually listen to what was going on stump mic back then? So it's certainly it divides people in the same way that Rishabh Pant divides people. Some people find it irritating as all hell. Some people find it entertaining as all hell. One thing that I would say, it does show, I think, how much energy Rishabh Pant brings to the side. Like, he's constantly there talking people up, giving people 568 nicknames. Always just chattering away. But you do notice that too when he's trying to really G the team up energy wise. That's sort of what comes through to me about Rishabh Pant on the stump mic.
Yeah, he has to be the most energetic wicketkeeper in terms of his vocal on the stump mic maybe India has ever had. I mean, MS Dhoni used to talk a lot. The energy, the constant giggling, and even when things are not going for India or going their way, I think he is unique in that sense. But you're so right. I mean, you don't even have to go back to bodyline. I mean, I'm sure Rod Marsh should have been outstanding behind the stumps. When he had Lily and Thompson and Ashley Mallet when he would stand up to him, like, oh, he just seems like someone who would have been great. We didn't get to hear much of Ian Healy, and it's only very recently, right, that the broadcasters have started really tuning up the stump mic. But it also depends on what you are looking for from the stump mic. You know me, I'm not one of those obsessed with the stump mic, but I'll tell you, for me, my favorite stump mic keeper, and he wasn't the funniest. I don't even think people will remember much about him, was Junior Murray, and the West Indian wicket keeper, because this is back when I used to watch a lot of cricket at home. So West Indian cricket would happen like late at night. And all he would say, and Carl Hooper used to bowl over after over, and all he would keep saying is, keep working, Hoopsy, keep working, keep working. And that would be like this soundtrack. Like I would fall asleep to keep working, Hoopsy. Like I did that so many times. And it became like my, even now when I walk dog smell, it's always keep walking, keep walking. I always do the Junior Murray. It just become like, yeah. So for me, it's, not Rishabh Pant, not Adam Parore, who I heard was the nastiest behind the stuff, but Junior Murray, there you go. Who's your favorite, man?
I reckon if I could go back, I reckon you're right. I'd like to hear Rod Marsh in that.
Hmm.
Although I reckon it would have been pretty fruity. I don't.
Yeah.
I think it would have been like not suitable for work. I have a suspicion that it might
Yeah.
have been a bit like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, just one of the legends like that. Not that I ever really saw a lot of Rod Marsh sort of ever at a game, but
Yeah.
I actually reckon that would have been quite a good one.
Hmm.
But also, yeah, I definitely would like to go back to Bodyline as well. Sorry, that's the Australian in me that has been brought up on the legend of that. Now, Cricket with Ash asks, if it's a Turner again, would England still stick with Root to do the job, or will they bring in Amar Verdi, the off spinner, or Dom Bess, or will they see playing Root as a safer option? Well, Root's going to play anyway. There's no doubt he's going to play. I look, that surely they will bring in another spinner. It would make no sense at all if they didn't bring another spinner. And
Hmm.
I'd like to think that they would give Dom Bess another go and stick with him. He can bat as well, which let's face it, they need to shorten that tail because it was pretty long. So I think Root will probably bowl more than he did at the start of this series
Hmm.
after that third test and how well he went. But we're not going to see them go in with all those seamers again. So yeah, you'd expect to see Dom Bess come back in, but also Root continue to play, I think, a significant role with bowling.
Yeah, but I don't know. See, Joe Root, the batsman, and Joe Root, the captain, will definitely be picked for this test. But Joe Root, the new ball bowler, maybe not. I
No,
thought he was pretty
not new
disappointing.
ball. Okay, yeah, let's
Yeah,
not go that far.
he was pretty disappointing with the new ball in the second innings, I must say. Come on, Joe. Uh, but you see, I have not seen much of Amar Verdi. I've read about him. I've heard a lot of our English friends in the press box talk about him, Ali Martin in particular. So I would love to see. You know, England do have a good record of seek. You know, of spinners from England, like, do well, especially in the last test, Monty Panesar in 2006. I was there. I watched that test match live at the Wankhede. The first day he dropped a catch and everybody started saying, Monty hamare saath hai, ye andar ki baat hai, which translates to Monty is one of us and this is our little secret. But then of course he took that famous catch and England won.
Mm,
So that's good history there, but I don't know whether they'll go for him. It would be unfair on Dom Bess. I mean, he has been taking
yeah.
wickets even though he hasn't bowled too flash. But I'm not too sure whether it will be Anderson and Archer. I wouldn't be surprised if one of Vokes or Mark Wood if he's fit, comes in. You never know. You never know. Mark Wood, like, if they think it's going to be a low seamer, reverse swing, maybe Mark Wood gets the nod ahead of Jofra Archer. That's how England go about the selections anyway.
Yeah, it's just quite what they do is really tricky. I mean, they've got to pick the best 11 they think they can, because they're still, like I said, the series they could still draw the Test series, which would be a huge achievement. But I don't think they'll make the same mistake of that they did in the last Test anyway when it comes to selections. Now here's one from Mike F, who asked, "Do you think England should replace Broad with an extra batter, Lawrence, for example, or Bess as an unreliable third seamer who bats a bit?" So I suppose that's a similar one there, but Broad, I think, more on the question of Broad, I think actually he could be the one most likely to miss out if you look at how much he played in the last Test, perhaps. Could that be a bit of a sign? If you look at the last Test turning pitch, poor old Stuart Broad just didn't really get to do much at all, which we kind of commented throughout. So we know England need more batting. I think that's as much a nod for Dom Bess as anything else. I don't know if they'll get an extra batter as at the expense of a bowler, though, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's why I think one of maybe Chris Wokes comes in purely as someone. If they think that it's again going to be a spin-dominated pitch or spin-dominated game, then you think, do you need Jimmy Anderson again? Like, Chris Wokes at least can bat, definitely like score some runs. He has a good record against India. I feel bad for Stuart Broad. I'm sure we have seen the last of Stuart Broad in India, and unfortunately, averaging well over 50 with the ball. It's something that he could. He's never been able to correct, and I'm sure he is such a proud cricketer. You can see it. He puts in so much effort. But unfortunately, that's he's going to be remembered as in India only as the guy who Yuvraj Singh hit for 6 sixes. Not really. He's bowled really well against India in England, but it's just one of those things. So when you look back at the last two Tests he played in India, you'll be like, was he playing as a specialist number 11? Because he hardly bowled.
I know. We saw that though, didn't we, across both sides in what the different the pitch and the ball and everything else meant that the team was able to do. Now here's one from Darwal, who asks, despite the series result, can Team India please gift Joe Root a signed jersey for his 100th Test at presentation, thus starting an amazing tradition of gifting any player a signed jersey if they play their 100th or 150th Test against India, like Lyon. But I think they have to after giving it to Lyon, don't they? They have to.
They have to, but you'd say the moment has passed, right? It's almost like, I don't know. It's always been tricky for me. Like even when I skip someone's birthday or or wishing someone on their anniversary, not Isha, but like someone else, I always feel like, what's like, what is there like a deadline for that? Like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or is it too late after that? Like, do you just move on, pretend like it never happened? That's a call that India would want to take. But if they win, we've seen it could happen if they win. And I just saw someone has corrected me. Chris Wokes has apparently gone back. See, this is what happens when you try covering a series from thousands of miles away. Yeah, so. That's the problem with England as well. Like you never know who's there, who's gone. But yeah, maybe we'll see someone who we didn't even know was in India all along. But yeah, Joe Root and the jersey. Yeah, I don't know if England win this Test and Australia go through. Maybe Australia will give him that signed jersey. They'll have to go to England.
They will. I like the reference back to. I still think that was sort of quite amusing the way that they gave that one to Nathan Lyon. It did make me laugh a bit. Now I think we have one from Lentil Soup at Lentil Soup. Yes, reports suggest Umesh Yadav and Kuldeep Yadav will both get into the 11 for the fourth Test. How many wickets will the Yadavs pick up?
I mean, we saw the Sharmas have a good game last week. One hit a six for the first time in his life. The other batted really, really well on a turning pitch or on a pitch which was, slightly difficult, we would say. You're not going there. It's not a turning pitch, like a challenging pitch, as Gavaskar Srinivas likes to call it. So yeah, maybe it's time for the Yadavs. My only fear with Kuldeep Yadav playing is then I want the pitch to be slightly flat, so that I want England to bat for a long time, purely because that will be the only way we get to see him bowl. Or it's going to be Ashwin and Akshar Patel again. And I wouldn't want to see poor Kuldeep Yadav play another Test where he's just the third spinner and he takes that one wicket like late in the day and then everybody celebrates border. In a sweet fashion, but it looks very patronizing when they do that.
Well, that was like Washington Sundar with the participation award last time, coming and take the last wicket. Yeah, if Kuldeep Yadav does play, I hope he takes 10 wickets. I really do. I hope he's that bowler who has a really good game because, yeah, I think a lot of us have felt a lot of sympathy for him. So over the time. Now there is one from Kartik saying, I really want to know what both you guys' thoughts on umpire's call in LBW and restrictions for bouncers in Test cricket. Bit of a thorny one, isn't it, Bharat? I mean, you are the umpire, and officially, and so you don't have to rely on umpire's call or resort to umpire's call. But what are your thoughts on umpire's call?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like it goes back to the original, the cliched argument about what is DRS in for, to get rid of blunders or to protect the umpires, which is what MS Dhoni's argument always used to be. And look, with LBW, I don't think there's any umpire in the world who will get all of them right. It happened to me this Saturday. Like, I thought someone was out, and I still think it is. But then during the tea break, I heard the batsman tell his friend, like, he was a sweet, sweet fellow, but he didn't see me. He didn't notice that I was right there having a sip of water. He's like, so his friend asked him, so mate, how did he get out? He's like, tried to sweep inside edge, ball was going down leg, and I was given LBW. And then he turns around and I'm still there. So I said, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're out. He's like, no, sorry, ump, I didn't see you there. And that for me is the closest I'll come to umpire's call at this rate. But, I think it will stay because if you take umpire's call out and you leave everything in the third umpire's hand, you're just adding another element of or opening the doors for even more controversy, right? Like, then you can't leave it entirely in the hands of technology because the technology, as we know, is not foolproof. Will it ever be foolproof? Maybe it will, the way the world is going, but as of now, it isn't, because you're still calculating or trying to figure out the ball's path. It's not 100%, and then of course we know it comes to where it hits and which part of. So it's just too complicated. Umpire's call at least leaves some power in the umpire's hand. As someone at a very low level, someone as an umpire, I would like umpire's call to stay, to be very honest. I know a lot of people out there don't want it, but because you still want the umpire to have some level of control or authority over the game. Otherwise, why need him? Just eventually we'll see the umpire fade away, which also opens up new scoring areas for the batsman. But, it is a batsman's game.
I think it was really good and really interesting that over the Australia-India series in the summer here, that they had Simon Taufel on the Seven commentary, and they would get him on to actually explain some of the rulings, but also the use of technology for some of those DRS decisions and other ones as well. And I actually thought that was a good thing, and I'd like to see more of that in cricket. If you could get an umpire involved, not one of the umpires of the game, but someone who can actually explain that stuff for people as well. Because there's a bunch of things that I think sometimes people don't realise, like that the line that they go to when it comes to height on DRS. Oh, he's lost the plot. the line is actually at the bottom of the stumps, the bottom of the bales, and not the top of the bales. And the reason for that is the top of the bales, there's not that line there, whatever it was, the line there. So they go from the bottom. Now, I think a bunch of those things. Oh my gosh, someone's ringing the phone here.
Technology, you see?
No, technology. It's all going wrong today. The other thing is that whole people get frustrated and say, "Oh, if it's clipping it should be out because it would be out in normal time, normal circumstances if it clips a bail." But that one thing I've been discussing with a few people is whether or not when they show ball tracking, instead of just showing where the probability of the ball landing here, it's actually a little zone around it. Of where the ball could possibly land. And I wonder if they could show the ball, but also show the zone around it to say, right, possibility with margin of error is that it could have landed within this zone, I'll sort of do that so more
Yeah.
settings in my hand. I wonder, and I've been wondering, maybe that wouldn't make a difference. I'm wondering if that might help the cause as far as people understanding why, well, it's, that's showing it's clipping the ball, so that means it's out. It's actually one possibility of a bunch of probabilities, and because the whole of the probabilities are, not conclusively saying it's out, that's why they end up going with the umpire's call. I don't know if that'd help. That's something that's out there, but maybe that would. The other part of that question was about bouncers. What do you think about the restrictions for bouncers?
No, I think they're here to stay. I think
Mm.
two bounces, is good enough. Like, and we've seen if you are extremely good at it as Neil Wagner, you don't have to be quick. But if you can be irritating and just bowl at the batsman's armpit, that area, how he irritated Steve Smith last year, and he's done it to so many batsmen around the world, you can still execute it. I mean, it's there because cricket is probably not. It's not a contact sport, but we've seen bad things do happen. The ball can do significant damages. So I think it's good. Like there is a restriction. Yeah, I mean the romantics would talk about the 70s and the 80s and 1960s where there were no restrictions on bouncers. Batsmen played without helmets. The world has changed, right? Like, and
Yeah.
for good. Nobody knew about concussion, or it wasn't a major topic till 20 years ago, and now we all know about head trauma and so, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a sport. You want everyone to go back home safe to their families. And with two bounces in an over, like I said, if you are good enough to execute it, you should still be able to execute it and make an impact with it, which I think the best bowlers in the world anyway do. So, yeah, and it makes for good cricket. So, set to, like you use the two bounces to set a wicket up and then bowl a full ball and get them out. That still makes
Yeah.
for better viewing than six bouncers and yeah, I mean the machoism that used to exist in cricket, I'm glad isn't spoken of the same way. And yeah, it's moved on, and that's good. We should do as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you say even further, you say that we all know about concussion in cricket now, but actually, concussion in sport is still a really
Hmm.
recent talking point, and it's not that long ago. It was only in the Ashes that we saw concussion substitutes even brought into the game. So the game's been
Beautiful.
wrestling
Yeah.
with this for a long time, and so I agree. It's going to stay no matter what. And we even we've seen talk in recent series about intimidating bowling towards tail
Hmm.
enders as well. Well, the game's got some inbuilt things in there to make sure that they can't be peppered by balls at their head if they're tail enders. Some people think that the game should actually do more in that regard. That's another
Hmm.
divisive one, of course. But yeah, for all of those reasons, I agree. It's definitely going to stay. Now, here's one from Akanksha. Look, we've had a lot of people say this. Let's pledge to discuss batsmen and bowlers' skills, or rather, lack of, rather than just the pitch. I'm so over it now. Uh, do you know, we had a lot of things, questions about the pitch, and again, and what would it be? Um, I'm kind of sick of talking about the pitch a bit as well. It's just, it's going to be there. One sort of bugbear I have at the moment is that we've seen for so long, that there'll be a picture of a pitch
Hmm.
and out on Twitter, and it'll come from one of the official accounts of the
Yeah.
teams, and it'll be win the toss and let people fill in the
Yeah.
blanks, and they do it for engagement and likes and replies and everything else. But now it's over. I feel like in recent years it's got more and more ridiculous. You'd get it on the morning of the pitch, of the match, the first morning of the first day.
Hmm.
Then you'd start to see it sort of maybe 2 or 3 days out, a day before, 2 days out before. And now we're
Hmm.
getting pictures of the pitch like 5 days beforehand. Like, it's ridiculous. Where does it end? Are we going to end up like, oh, here's a picture of the pitch 37 days out from the first test. Here's the it's becoming ridiculous. And I know it's done for engagement and everything else, but I'm saying we should ban pitch pics. Just ditch the pitch pics. That's what I say. Ditch pitch pics, because people gosh, there's not really much people can tell about it anyway. I used to get sucked into this myself,
Mm.
but over the years, it's just, you see people 2 days out, 2 or 3 days out in England, people going, oh yeah, people actually writing, yes, England are preparing a green mamba here, and
Yeah.
it's like 3 days beforehand, guys. They're going to get the mower out a few times, and you can't see the soil underneath. And even if you could, most of us dumb schmucks, we wouldn't know what that is actually going to mean. The players don't know. The curators often don't know. So uh, I think we're setting this up really early by having so much focus on the pitch way beforehand. It's like becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, I know. And we've both spoken to so many curators around the world. Like, what do they say? The first hour or the first day, in many cases, of the test match is the most anxious they'll be because the job is done. They just have to tend to the pitch on and off, but the preparation of the pitch is complete. But whether I've spoken to the guy in Wellington or even in Adelaide, they always spend that first couple of hours because they don't know how it's going to behave. They think it's going to behave in a certain way, and countries like Australia and England, a lot of times the curators will have a press conference as well 3 days out. I mean, they obviously have to toe the line and say the same things that you expect from them. Some smart asses in our industry will ask them about water ratio and the length of the grass. Of course, not knowing what it actually means, but it just you just sound smart. It's good. I've asked those questions as well, but like but the reality is even they don't know often how a pitch is going to play. It happens so. I mean, I bumped into Damien Hoff in Adelaide after 36 all out, and he was like, I was in fact expecting the ball to do a lot more on day one. It didn't, and it's not a 36 all out pitch. But I said, yeah, people are going to come for you because it's always that way. Like curate only gets spoken about when the match doesn't go, the match finishes early, or we see a collapse of that nature. So it's just one of those things. Ditch the pitch. I think, in fact, people just should be banned from taking pictures off the ground of the pitch. Like the only reason you would want to go to the venue of some major event so many days out is if you want to book like your wedding venue. In India, it takes a while. At times you have to go 2 years in advancement. So that I understand. But for the cricket pitch, just switch on the TV on the day of the match, in the morning of the match, and that should be the first view. Hopefully that'll happen. I mean, hopefully this era of likes and retweets will come to an end now.
You've really got me salivating for the day when we go to one of those curator presses before a test, and they actually say, yeah, I've got no freaking idea how it's going to play, mate. Like, no idea. We've done what we can. Who knows? Or even better, I think it's going to be crap, actually. I think it's going to be pretty dead, flat as
Yeah.
road. Yeah, nothing in it for the bowlers, nothing in it. Yeah, it's going to be crap. I'd love to see that day. I would love to see that day. I'm just going to go back. I did miss one from Anthony Devlin, and I'm Anthony Devlin, who is, by the way, if you don't know who he is, he's an award-winning sports photographer, one of the great photographers in cricket
Mm.
around the world. You will undoubtedly have seen his pictures. And there he does have a pitch question, but I do think it's valid. Do you think they'll prepare a road so India can bat out a draw and qualify for the World Test Championship? Asking for a friend.
Mhm.
I don't know that I don't think they will prepare a road, but it's just an interesting point in that remembering that India do only have to draw this, don't they? I think they'll obviously go to win it, but the possibility of a draw
Mm.
may come in. Will that come into tactics at some point, depending on the match situation? Will India be satisfied with a draw if it means they win the series and guarantee themselves a place in that final?
They won't go into the match thinking about a
No,
draw because the
no.
way cricket has gone, and Test cricket has gone in the last 3 months, it would be a big risk. And they've done it to Australia, so they know how it will be. So I still think there will be something in the pitch. I don't see it being a road. I know where Anthony is coming from. It's a good question. It's a good point. But by playing for the draw, you saw what England did in the first test. What if they win the toss, and if the pitch doesn't have demons, or if they don't have demons in their own head, as they
Yeah.
have had in the last two tests, and they make 500, suddenly the pressure is on you to save the test match, and you wouldn't want that. So I don't think they will go in that. This Indian team, especially the way Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli go about things, I don't think they go into test match wanting to draw it. Starting from Adelaide 2014, right? When Virat Kohli captained for the first time, the draw is seriously an afterthought for them. So I don't see them going into it. I know both of them are desperate to make it to that World Test Championship final, but I think they'll back themselves to beat this English team, especially after the way the last two tests have gone. They're so short on confidence, and there's which batsman in that English team looks good at the moment? Not too many. So yeah, I don't think that'll come into the equation. But who knows? If the match situation demands, uh, do they have the right people to draw the test? I think they do in Ashwin and Pujara.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, India have got a wealth of options, haven't they?
Mm.
I don't know if you've seen any. Have you seen any other questions that you'd like to bring up, Bharat,
Um,
ahead of
uh,
this?
there, there were a couple that I saw on Twitter, which of course I've forgotten their name. Sorry,
Oh, that's
but
okay. Oh, there's one. I think there's one. There is another one from Twitter from Danny Franklin, our good friend. Danny is a Twitter follower who only likes 3 Australians, he tells me, and apparently I'm one of them. So I feel very
oh,
privileged. And he basically just asked, "What's the point?" Well, what's the point of it all? I think that's because Danny is an England fan. I think the
mm,
predisposition is like, oh, grumble, glass half empty, all that sort of thing.
yeah.
Come on, what's the point in anything in life, Danny? The point is that we are alive and we have Test cricket, and you never know what's going to happen. Short, predictable thing. If you went with the odds, you'd say you have to favour India to win this, but Test cricket, I feel like it's been throwing up crazier and crazier things
Mm.
over the past few years. So I feel like there's even more point. There's more point, Danny. And I don't want you to be, all misery guts about it. Come on, buckle up. I know things are hard over there in England. You're sick of all these lockdowns and everything else, but there is a point. We're here. We're here with you. We're going through it all with you, honest.
Yeah, but I do agree with Danny. If I was a part of English cricket or English fan, what is the point? Like, it's like the party venue has been decided. You're throwing a party in your own house. You're not invited to the party already. So all you have to do is set everything in place and then leave. So you can be a party pooper, but you're already a party pooper. Your party has been pooped already because you have to play host, but still not be allowed to be in the party. So I am with Danny. I'm not bursting with positivity as you are, Mel. I am sort of like you, but no, nobody can match you on that front. But I'm with Danny. What is the point? Why should we
Uh,
even play this test match?
Great, you bring poop into it. This is not the first time. We had a good, bad, and ridiculous recently where you started the whole thing with a poop story. And now we're going to bring our show to a close with more references to poop. So thanks, Bharat, for making sure
Sure,
that we always have a crap beginning or a crap ending.
it's a good thing. Yeah.
And thank you all so much for joining us and for sending in your questions. We really, 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 really appreciate it. We will be back during the 4th test. So make sure you stay with us and get those good, bad, ridiculous nominations ready. I'm fairly certain, going on this series so far, that we're bound to see a lot of good, bad, and ridiculous things throughout the final test. So let's make the most of it. Test cricket back in India, back with us all. That makes us very, very happy. Me anyway, because I'm not a pooper. I'm a party pooper like that guy is. So thanks a lot, and we will see you very soon. Bye.